Right, so Israeli expansionism gets little, if any, mainstream media mention. The Greater Israel plan still very much expanding away, though. Yet it affects the whole of the Middle East as they eat up more and more territory, and now another target nation may be in their sights before much longer, as a swipe at Turkey from Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar holds more than a loaded threat. On a collision course as they seem to be in Syria, as Turkey aims to seize more territory from the north, and Israel encroaching further from the southwest, leaving the new administration being led by the completely unelected former Al-Qaeda cast-off that is Ahmed Al Sharaa, being pulled in two directions, with Turkey apparently helping Al Sharaa draw up a new Syrian constitution, whilst Al Sharaa continues to tell Israel they want to be friends and pose no threat to them, all to no avail. Check your skin colour, sunshine, you might spot the issue Netanyahu has with you. Of course, a good chunk of Turkey is also in the frame under the vision for Greater Israel, and some might suggest it's a dose of karma, given Turkey has been keeping Israel's oil supply going on the quiet, whilst publicly attacking Israel for their atrocities in Gaza. So will there be any sympathy for them, really? More a serves them right attitude, perhaps? Or should we be more concerned about Israel's ongoing expansionism, rather than worry about how many faces Turkey has on show? Right, so bear with the voice, it's still not back to 100%, but we are working on it and we're going to push ahead anyway. And let's begin with Gideon Saar and his comments, because this sets the scene for how Turkey now fits into Israel's ongoing attacks. Israel's foreign minister has been making a bit of a Burke of himself on the world stage, you see. A guy who only came back into Netanyahu's cabinet last year, along with the rest of his New Hope party. What a name. Don't let the name fool you, though. It's yet another right-wing Israeli political party, something Israel seems to have no shortage of. And this was all following the departure of Benny Gantz's National Unity Party, he who left because Netanyahu refused to put forward a plan for what was going to happen to Gaza after the war. And, well, we can perhaps see why he wasn't to keep that to himself at the time. But it's all to keep Netanyahu's rancid coalition afloat that Saar has returned. Saar having taken his party out of the coalition several months previously when he was overlooked for the foreign minister role. So it could be pointed to as a sign of Netanyahu's desperation that Saar's party came back when Saar actually got that job in the end. Well, he's no stranger to controversial statements either, as few Israeli politicians are really, and it is one of these that has brought possible conflict with Turkey into conversation, but which actually starts with the matter of Hezbollah in Lebanon. You see, Saar has claimed that Hezbollah is being aided by Iran, nothing new there, but that this aid is being routed now through Turkey, as the Times of Israel have gleefully explained. Foreign Minister Gideon Saar on Monday accused Turkey of cooperating with Iranian attempts to smuggle money to Hezbollah in a meeting with a bipartisan group of US senators. During the meeting at the Foreign Ministry, in which 7 senators and Deputy Middle East Special Envoy Morgan Ortagus were present, Saar told the group that Iran has stepped up its efforts to finance Hezbollah and that Turkey has been an active participant in the process. There is an intensified Iranian effort to smuggle money into Lebanon for Hezbollah to restore its power and status, Saar said, according to his office. This effort is being carried out amongst other channels via Turkey and with its cooperation. Now, these accusations are not just inflammatory, they're flaming dangerous. By framing Turkey as a conduit for Iranian support to Hezbollah, all part of a well-worn and previously effective propaganda line to shift global opinion in their favour against another state. And let's face it, everyone in the West has an issue with Iran as it is anyway. But whether Turkey has been acting as a conduit, as it's been put, for Iran remains completely unproven, because when do Israelis ever get asked for any proof? What is known is that despite Turkey's public condemnation of Israel's actions both in Gaza and more lately in Syria, where Turkey has significant vested interest too now, Turkey has still been funneling Azerbaijani oil through to Israel to keep the lights on, so to speak. So Saar's rhetoric might jeopardise that if he goes much further. And indeed, if Turkey and Israel come to blows, as both seek to gain more influence and more territory in Syria, now under new administration, of course. But given Turkey is so keen on gaining influence with Syria, who are still largely anti-Iranian, despite alleged communications of late between Syria and Iran having been opened, at least indirectly, aiding Iran right now wouldn't help Erdogan's designs on becoming Al Shara's bestest buddy, and indeed Syria remain a bone of contention between Tehran and Ankara as well. So what Saar is saying doesn't make a lot of sense. But as I've already stated, Israel can say what they like. They never get asked to back any of it up, do they? Saar's comments, both in regard to Turkey and on other matters as well, have not gone unnoticed, though. The Hind Rajab Foundation, or HRF, a human rights organisation based in Belgium, and one which I discussed in a video the other day regarding the arrest of IDF soldiers holidaying abroad, have called for Saar's arrest too during a recent visit of his to Belgium. The foundation accused Saar of inciting violence and perpetuating false narratives to justify Israel's aggressive policies. And if Saar wanted to tone down the very rhetoric getting him into so much trouble, his reaction to the HRF and their request for his arrest won't have helped matters on that score one iota. Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar, when asked about the Hind Rajab Foundation filing a complaint against him, "I've heard about the ridiculous complaint filed against me by a gang of Holocaust deniers, supporters of abducting Israeli civilians and admirers of the late Hassan Nasrallah. It has no significance whatsoever, and I am certain that this visit will be successful in advancing our foreign relations." When Saar mentions this visit, he is referring to his upcoming visit to Brussels, Belgium, for a meeting with the EU-Israel Association Council. An organisation named after a 6-year-old little girl that Israel killed are Holocaust deniers. They are Hamas supporters, and they are Hezbollah supporters, and their input is an insignificance. That is essentially what Gideon Saar said. I mean, he went for the treble there in his very short response, didn't he? Don't hold back with your bullshit by any means. What a delightful creature he is. Not. Back to the matter of Syria, though, and Turkish and Israeli involvement there, which strikes me as part of the real reason for Israel's sudden lurch at Turkey. Both Israel and Turkey have been actively involved in the Syrian conflict, but their goals could not be more different. Israel have been conducting airstrikes in Syria, targeting what it claims are Iranian-backed militias, along with weapons caches they didn't want the new regime of Al-Qaeda and Islamic State leftovers to have, as well as advancing their own positions, building military outposts, and seizing significant water reserves for both Syria and neighbouring Jordan. On the other hand, Turkey has been trying to seize territory in northern Syria, ostensibly to create a buffer zone against the Kurds, who they have for a long time had significant beef with. But many see this as an attempt to expand Turkish influence within Syria at the same time. Now, these competing interests have put Israel and Turkey on something of a collision course, not just politically, but territorially in Syria, as both make ground towards each other, with no real idea of how far either of them may actually end up expanding their field of influence. Throwing a further can of worms into this picture is the fact that Gideon Saar, back again, has also suggested Israel formalise ties with the Kurds, which, if it were to be successful, could halt Turkey in its advancement in Syria. But it would be a picture that the world should eye with great suspicion. Israel aided Al Sharaa for as long as it was convenient in order to overthrow Assad, but as soon as that was done, they became the invaders themselves. Any alliance with Arab groups in the Middle East should be a warning to those groups that Israel are only going to back them for as long as they may prove useful. And it all leaves Ahmed Al Shara's government walking a bit of a tightrope. On one hand, Syria needs to rebuild after years of civil war, and that requires cooperation with regional powers like Turkey, especially as they are now helping draft a new Syrian constitution. On the other hand, Syria can't afford to alienate Israel either, which has shown a willingness to use military force to achieve its goals, won't leave their territory despite being asked to, and who don't seem interested in the diplomatic route Turkey has opted for. It's a bit of a delicate balancing act, you might say. One misstep could have catastrophic consequences, because if anything ramps up militarily in Syria, Ahmed Al Sharaa doesn't have the military forces to back him anymore. But the real question is, can Syria, or any country in the region, truly maintain neutrality in the face of Israel's expansionist ambitions? The Greater Israel Plan takes Israel all the way past Damascus, after all. Meanwhile, Turkey's interior politics are adding another layer of complexity to this already really volatile situation. Recent reports indicate that Turkish police have detained hundreds of Kurdish journalists, academics and politicians, all crackdowns that are part of a broader campaign to suppress Kurdish dissent. It all adds to the deep resentment between Turkey and the Kurds, even as it risks alienating Turkey's Kurdish population, a key ally as they have been in the fight against ISIS and other extremist groups, which makes you wonder who Turkey actually hate more. Well, Syria's new government are, of course, all ex-al-Nusra Front, ex-Al-Qaeda and ex-Islamic State, aren't they? So we probably answered that question to a degree. But the Kurds do guard the camps and prisons housing thousands of Islamic State prisoners who risk being freed in the north as both sides end up taking lumps out of each other. This internal instability, though, combined with Turkey's playing of both sides to an extent with Syria and Israel, makes Turkey vulnerable both with its internal politics and how it is seen internationally. And Israel will seize any opportunity to push their agenda, and at any cost. They've got the orange idiot in the White House backing them, after all. So what if the Middle East is already a powder keg waiting to go off? They'll keep lighting fuses as long as they get shielded from any fallout politically by Western leaders and mainstream media giving it all a pass. Any move by Israel to target Turkey, though, could reignite a conflict with far-reaching consequences. What does all of this mean for the future of the Middle East, in which case? Well, we're back to the Greater Israel Plan again, aren't we? All roads seem to lead back to it. Here's that image of the Greater Israel Plan again. And southern Turkey is very much part of that plan, as you can see, and it becomes ever more clear that Israel's Greater Israel project is not just a theoretical concept, it's a driving force behind its foreign policy. Saar's words are setting that up. And as Israel sets its sights on Turkey, the risk of an ever greater, broader regional conflict grows, and potentially beyond. As much as it's very easy to point to all these nations with a growing beef with each other for all of these myriad different reasons, though, most of all, it's about the lives of millions of people who are going to be caught in the crossfire. It's about holding leaders like Gideon Saar accountable for their actions and their words, and I don't think the Hind Rajab Foundation are wrong in what they've demanded of their nation's leaders on that score either. What diplomatic ties do you want with someone as plain nasty as that, and the nation he represents? So it's about demanding a more just and equitable approach to diplomacy at the end of the day. Meanwhile, we have evidence we can point to that being all cosy with Israel can very much be very bad for your health, both politically and militarily. And nobody is learning a bigger lesson than that right now than their skivvies in the Palestinian Authority. And it can hardly be said they don't deserve it, because they absolutely do. Get all the details of that story in this video recommendation here as your suggested next watch. Please do also hit like, share and subscribe before you do so, though, so as to ensure you don't miss out on all new daily content for as long as my voice continues to hold up anyway. And also help support the channel at the same time, which is very much appreciated. And I will hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.